look at what's going on in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Similar number of people displaced. Terrible violence, particularly in the Kivu region. And, you know, it's not got as much attention as Syria. Shouldn't you, as arguably the best known African, most widely admired African currently in the world, shouldn't you be speaking about the DRC every day of the week?
No, what is happening in DRC is very tragic. Attempts have been made to get the government to cooperate. There are so many envoys operating in Congo today, I'm not even sure I can list them all. Situations like Congo indicates the limit to international pressure and international influence. And we need to find a way of strengthening the local population and local civil society to take on the fight and to work with them.
But you know, you said, oh, there are lots of envoys there, but there are 16,000 UN stabilization forces in the DRC, a country the size of Western Europe. So that really, they're not going to be able to be very, very effective. Jan Egeland, the head of the Norwegian Refugee Council, says the Democratic Republic of the Congo is one of the worst crises on earth, yet no one seems to care about it. Is he right? And why do you think it doesn't count? Is it because they're Africans?
There could be a part of that, and also the fact that it's a crisis that had gone on for a long time. The first UN presence in the Congo dates back to 1960, and we've been there almost continuously till now. So there is a bit of fatigue, and there's also real leadership crisis in the Congo.
So, I mean, I said that, you know, you're arguably the best known African today, and of course you were the first black African to become head of the United Nations. And when you were at the UN for a career that went over 6 decades, you were head of UN peacekeeping operations. But I put it to you that in your time, the UN Charter's aim was not met, particularly pertaining to Rwanda. We saw the Rwanda genocide happen when you were head of UN peacekeeping operations. The Charter's aim is to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. It failed the people of Rwanda, didn't it?
No, you can argue that we failed the people of Uganda, we failed Rwanda, and we failed the people of Bosnia, as you mentioned earlier. I think what is important here when we talk of the UN, we have to be very clear which UN we are talking about. There are 2 UNs in my judgment, which there is a UN that is made up of the member states who sit in the Security Council, who are the P5, who also are in the General Assembly, give the Secretary General and the Secretariat its mandates and the commensurate resources to carry out the mandate. And then there is a UN under the Secretary General which implements the program. In Rwanda, it was extremely difficult to get the member states to move. First of all, Rwanda came soon after Somalia, when the American planes had been shot down and they were all rushing home. The US withdrew and all the Western countries withdrew with the US. It was about the same time that Rwanda, which at that point people had thought was doing well, fell apart. And no one wanted to send troops in, even when we said increase the troops which were there.
But when did you become aware? I have to ask you, there were numerous warnings from people on the ground in Rwanda. You must have received at least 10 warnings. For example, General Romeo Dallaire, head of the UN peacekeeping mission in Rwanda, in November 1993, alerted you to the possibility of what might happen, and yet you got no response.
I think, first of all, Romeo Dallaire is a good friend and a very good officer. Romeo Dallaire, when he sent that message to my military advisor, indicated that it is also possible that it is a trap, that they could walk into a trap with this warning. Not only that, soon after that, 10 Belgian soldiers were also killed. The member states were not ready to send in troops. And in this situation, when you say the UN failed, Which UN are you talking about?
I'm asking you really, because I mean, in January,
Yeah.
you received a cable from General Romeo Dallaire, who said he wanted approval to use force against what he described as crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Also, Jacques Roger Boubou, the UN Special Envoy to Rwanda, also said that he said, in view of Rwanda's long and tragic history of ethnic conflict, the possibility of ethnically motivated incidents is a constant threat. There were these things that were coming to you, January, February.
Yeah,
and how did you respond? Because they say they didn't get the
he
reaction
did.
they
He
wanted.
was on the line with our military advisor all the time. And also...
And you?
I didn't... He came to New York to talk to me. We brought him back for consultation. But what is important, what you should hear, is that not everything that comes from the field is that you jump on immediately. I see, first of all, with 250 soldiers, 2,500 soldiers, even if you used half of them to try to stop this, they would have been slaughtered the way the Americans were.
But that's not what he told. He told Hard Talk, though, in 2002, General Dallaire, he said that he could have stopped the genocide with 5,000 peacekeepers. They tied my hands because they were gun shy.
But he did not have the 5,000 soldiers.
No, he had 2,500.
He had 2.5, and they would have been the first, the first attack. Just to kill 10 or 15, the member states would want to withdraw their troops.
Did you not say,
the way the Americans withdrew in Somalia?
Sure, but did you not say on January the 10th, in a cable, back to Dallaire and Boubou, we must handle this information with caution, and you said no reconnaissance or other action should be taken until there is clear guidance from headquarters. It seems like you were almost suggesting that they were exaggerating what might be going on the ground.
But even if they were not exaggerating, you needed to think through the implications of the action they were contemplating. It was evident that they did not have the resources to take on the challenge they were confronted with. I mean, you talked about 18,000 UN troops in Congo, a drop in the bucket, and often the UN has made those mistakes in the past. We put in these small numbers of soldiers who are not always well equipped. They are too big to hide, and they're too small to make a difference. And that is a terrible sort of awkward situation.
But how did you feel once you realized that,
800,000
people killed?